Cool, I think we are live. So, hello everyone, and welcome to a new Google AdMob webinar. Today, we'll learn how to optimize your AdMob account, accelerate your revenue, and solve the most common policy issues. My name is Leo, and I'm a strategic partner manager for Google AdMob. My role is to help and support AdMob apps to optimize, accelerate, and grow their AdMob account. Also, today we'll have a special guest, Sahil, from the Partner Experience team, who will help us with the top policy issues, and he will teach us how to solve them. So Sahil is already in the call, but he will take the lead later on in the webinar. Great, so in today's agenda, we will show you how to choose the right AdMob ad format for your app, including the newest ad types called app open ads and rewarded interstitial. Also, I will share some key tips and best practices on how to optimize and grow your AdMob accounts and revenue. Then Sahil will share some account settings, payment, and policy recommendations to help you stay compliant with our Google policies. And finally, we'll have 10 minutes for a live question and answer sessions at the end, where we'll be happy to answer 3 to 4 live questions from the audience. But how can I ask a live questions? I know that you wondered. Great, so I would recommend sending a question directly to us during the live stream, so we can review them and pick the most relevant ones to be answered at the end of the webinar. It is very easy. Just click on the button below, ask your question here. Thanks for doing so. Before jumping into the event content, I wanted to share a few examples on how AdMob help publishers grow and achieve their business goals with tools and formats fit for their apps. Firstly, with the latest format app that we have called App Open Ads, Love Collage increased their eCPM by 50%. Also, Refuel Games grew by 17% ad revenue with AdMob reworded ads. And Lion Games skyrockets ARP, which stands for average revenue per daily active user, with AdMob reworded interstitial ads. The message here is that they are a good growth opportunity by learning the content that we will share with you today. So are you ready for that? Yes. Cool, so let's get started. How do you choose the right AdMob ad format for your app? There are 6 ad formats in AdMob in total: banner, native, interstitial, reworded, app open, and reworded interstitial. We will go through the ones highlighted in blue. Let's start with interstitial ads. Interstitial ads are full screen ads which cover the full interface of the app and are generally placed at natural transition points. There are also other differences compared to banner ads. All interstitial ads must be triggered by users by taking an action in the app. So basically, this ad format cannot suddenly display in the app like banner ads unless a user takes an action in the app. Also, if you're users, you can control how many interstitial ads a user can see by setting a frequency cap, for example, per use and or per day. And finally, interstitial ads have generally a higher eCPM. This is an example of interstitial ads where English Grammar, a free app that enables users to sharpen their English language skills, implemented rich media interstitials in between exercises. So basically, after you're done with an exercise and you want to go back to the exercises list, you can watch an interstitial ad. Another ad format you can choose is reworded ads, where users can interact with the ad in exchange for a reward or a premium feature. So the user actively chooses to see the ad or not. Please remember that the rewards should be non-monetary, such as coupons, promotional codes, cash, or any kind of monetary benefits, and are specified before the ad shown. This type of ad format works well for games and apps with a premium feature. I'll show an example here. When physics ball user fails to complete a level, they're offered to watch a rewarded video to retry the game and continue playing. Moving on to the second latest ad format that we implemented, called App Open Ads. Basically, you can choose App Open Ads where if you want to place an ad at the loading page when you open an app. So this type of ad format integrates seamlessly into the app open and supports text, image, rich media, and video ads. Our team wanted to unlock new inventory and let you monetize users as soon as they enter your app. This ad format is designed to maximize demand with highest bidding and creatives, flexible format with full screen and partial screen ads, beautiful user experience optimized rendering. When you implement App Open Ads, you need to make sure that the app has a loading page and the ad is placed on top of it with a transparent zone. Finally, I want to introduce to the latest ad format called Rewarded Interstitial, which is now available in open beta. But what's cool about Rewarded Interstitial? So you can offer in-app rewards for watching a full-page interstitial ad. Second, you can unlock new placements with just-in-time and contextually relevant rewards. And third, can offer superior user experience with minimal impact on retention. Similar to rewarded ads, must be either video or interactive, and must be skippable since the users are not explicitly opting in. This is how the user experience looks like. I'll focus a little bit more on this ad format because it's the newest one, so I hope you can understand it better. In this game, as you can see in this slide, the user ran out of hearts and they can watch a video to retrieve 3 more hearts. If they decide to do so, they will watch a skippable ad with reward countdown timer. Please note that if the user clicks to exit, they will lose their reward. A few tips here. First, add new placements to increase the average return per daily active user without impacting retention. So rewarded interstitial enables you to add new placements with contextual just-in-time rewards, as I mentioned before. For example, during gameplay, when user has only 1 move left, run some extra moves with a rewarded the interstitial ad, as you can see here. Second tip, show rewarded interstitial to users who don't opt in to rewarded. As you can see from this slide, use rewarded ads and rewarded interstitial together to optimize your monetization. Show rewarded to users who opt in, and show rewarded interstitial instead to the users who don't. Finally, place interstitial between game levels for better UX and higher ad engagement. Rewarded interstitial with well-designed rewards can improve both eCPMs as well as retention, increasing the user long-time value. So, to sum up, what do we need to consider when choosing an ad format? Always consider the ad format characteristics which best fit with your app design, UI, and flow. It is really important you test, especially when you just develop your app and you use data to understand what works best for your app and for your users. Finally, make sure to respect the user experience as they are the foundation of the whole ecosystem. ECPM, this just as FYI, is generally higher for reworded video, reworded the interstitial, and app open ads. As a final reminder for this session, and then I'll happy to move on to the next one, I just wanted to call out that you can use smart segmentation to monetize with ads. The users who can't or won't spend and deliver different type of rewarded experience for the users. So when using this feature, I would recommend using the randomness to mask differential reward the experiences and create a perception of fairness for your users. Also, make sure to remove the frequency caps for users who will never become a purchasers. Great. So now we saw the different type of ad type that you can pick in AdMob. And in this section, we will learn how to optimize your account with tips and best practices, specifically for certain type of apps. I picked two for this webinar. So let's start with ad format recommendations for tools and utility apps. As mentioned before, we should place interstitial ads during natural intersection points, such as after a connection successful message for VPN app, or after successfully scanning a barcode, or for productivity apps after making a task as complete. Example. If instead your app allows you to set an alarm, then I would recommend you placing an interstitial ad after setting or saving the new alarm. Also, you could place an ad after successfully downloading or sharing a file, or after completing a conversion with a unit converter app. Sharing a pro tip here. You can create another potential ad placement by adding separate confirmation screen and add an interstitial ad. So if you look at rewarded video ads instead, you can grant users access to premium features with rewarded videos, as you can see in this example, for a file sharing app. So which are the benefits of this ad format? It's valuable, allows users to try features hidden behind subscriptions and AIP paywalls. It is instant, as users can get premium access immediately after watching the ad, and it is rewatchable. So users can rewatch reworded ads to extend their access to premium features, increasing the number of total impressions per users. And what about if you have a brain and puzzle game? So just wanted to share some type of reward idea. You have free coins, you have extra step energy, you can have level resume, as I mentioned before, if you lose the game, or lucky draw or hint. So these are just some example of rewards that you can implement. Also, when deciding rewarded ads, I would recommend to make sure to emphasize the visual for gift and create a short and appealing message to attract the users. Also, I always recommend publishers to track reward usage rate with Firebase to ensure gift is attractive. Furthermore, you can add counting down number bar to raise sense of urgency. Great. So this is an example with CookApps. CookApps grows ad revenue by 86% with rewarded ads and mediation. You can see, as you can see here, the screenshot on actually on the screenshot on the right, users can watch an ad format, an ad for a reward in the level retry menu, or user can have the option to watch an ad or for one or more live in the live shop. So these are just a few examples for you to visualize where you can implement rewarded ads. When it comes to interstitial instead, here are some best practices. As I mentioned before, interstitial ads should be placed within screen shifts within the app and the environment, such as level refresh, end of the level, or back to the homepage. A pro tip here to maintain a great user experience and comply with the policies that we have. Don't use interstitial at game return, and don't bump interstitial when there is no screen shift. Okay? Here is an example. Blacklight Studio Games added interstitial ad after finishing level and before the homepage replay page. This is a great example of a screen shift. Now I've shared our ad format recommendation. Let's move on to AdMob account setting recommendations to help improve your account performance. So these recommendations are generally tied to the user interface. So you can open your account, your AdMob account, and let's play with that. So firstly, I would encourage you to enable video within interstitial and rewarded ads directly in the AdMob UI to allow video ad to be the main creative element and tap into additional inventory, which could improve eCPMs. Then, if you are not satisfied with your performance, please check your blocking controls and unlock categories or adjust maximum ad content rating. However, please note that you can block sensitive categories such as politics, ad, so you have control over the ads you show. So this is always available there. Just wanted to make sure that you remember that. Also, you can check your frequency caps for rewarded ads and relax it in order to increase impression. However, as always, be mindful of the experience that you want to create for your users. And finally, if you want to be updated on product updates, performance snapshots, and recommended optimization, please enable the data-driven performance suggestion option in your email preference section. By doing so, you will also be able to be updated on next webinar that I or my colleagues will be holding. I also would strongly recommend to link all your apps if they are already published in the App Store. For some accounts, you will have the option to pick from different type of Android app stores, such as Oppo or Xiaomi or Amazon. By linking your apps to your account, you will have a better performance and overall results. So strongly recommended. Now, I hope to introduce you to a few tips to successfully protect your account before moving on to the part that my colleague Sahil will take care of. So first, app ad stacks. App ad stacks is a simple, flexible, and secure method for publishers and distributors to declare who is authorized to sell their inventory, improving transparency for programmatic buyers. So authorized sellers for apps, so app ad stacks, is an extension to the authorized digital sellers standards, originally designed for protecting web ad inventory. Authorized sellers for apps is an AAB Tech Lab initiative that helps ensure your app and inventory is only sold through channels you have identified as authorized. Creating an app ads text file gives you more control over who is allowed to sell ads on your app and helps prevent counterfeit inventory from being presented to advertisers. So, which are the benefits of app ads text? First of all, implementing app ads text helps prevent unauthorized and domain spoofed app inventory from damaging your brand and revenue. Secondly, similar to robots text, ads text can only be posted to a domain by an app publisher's webmaster, making it valid and authentic. As a text file, ads text is easy to update, making it very flexible. The data required to populate the file is readily available in the OpenRTB protocol, making it simple to gather and target. So another way to protect your account is seller.json. Seller.json is a standard released by AIB Tech Lab to increase transparency and combat fraud in the ads ecosystem. It is also a standard for advertising platforms to publish the identifies of publishers and supply partner accounts that are available on their platforms. So, which are the benefits of seller.json? Seller.json increases transparency and reduces fraud. AdMob can provide sellers information about publishers, developers, and partners to help buyers make more informed decisions. So seller.json helps to detect and ad fraud because buyers will know the business entity that benefits materially from the transaction. Therefore, it builds trust in the ad ecosystem by increasing inventory quality and strengthening advertiser trust to create more value for publishers. So, moving on to the next, tip. So we all know that, we're all trying to understand the impact that Apple's app tracking transparency policy is having in our ecosystem and on us. So developers should see a significant impact on their revenue, on their Google ad revenue, due to reduced visibility into performance metrics and measurements, including conversion modeling. We have updated Google Mobile Ads SDKs for iOS to help your iOS monetization. As such, I'm sharing guidance about how Google is complying with the app tracking transparency policy. Two key recommendations. First of all, you should install the latest Google Mobile Ads SDK for iOS. The version is 7.64 or later, that include critical features for iOS 14 and 14.5 compatibility. Also, make sure to configure the SK ad network with Google's network identifier. Advertisers will be using Apple's SK ad network framework to measure the value they get from your app. And for more information, of course, you can go on Help Center and we'll help you understand how you can comply with the latest updates. The last tip I hope to share before passing it to Sahel is introducing you to open bidding. I know this is a kind of a pro tip, but instead of me talking, let me play a very short video to help you understand how to maximize ad revenue with open bidding.
For app developers who monetize with ads, we're excited to announce a new solution called Open Bidding to help you maximize revenue from every ad you show. Let's see how Open Bidding can help you earn even more than waterfall mediation alone. Waterfall mediation prioritizes networks based on historical CPM data, which doesn't allow you to take advantage of real time pricing. There could be a huge difference between the average revenue from yesterday's impressions and how much a single impression is worth in a given moment. With waterfall mediation, you could be missing out on additional revenue. Open bidding bridges that gap. Here's an example. Let's say Network B has historically paid the highest CPM of $3, so you've placed them at the top of the waterfall. When an ad request comes in, they get the first opportunity to return an ad. But you don't know how much they'll actually pay you for this specific impression until after they've shown the ad. One of the other networks could potentially have paid more. In contrast, with open bidding, every ad network competes in a fair, real-time auction where the winner is always the highest paying network. That means you get the highest available revenue for every impression. Now, imagine how this can add up across thousands or millions of impressions, which could create a massive revenue opportunity for your app business. Try open bidding today. Now available in beta.
Great. So my part is done. I'll pass it now to Sahil, who kindly, accepted to be here with us today. Just as a reminder, if you didn't post your question yet, please do so, because after Sahil's part, we'll, review some questions and answer them live. Best of luck, Sahil. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Leo. And hello, everyone. Hope you all are doing well and keeping safe. I'll be taking over the next session, in which I would hope to share recommendations around PIN verification, payment settings, and policy. And as Leo mentioned, please feel free to ask as many questions that you have. So first, let's start with PIN verification. To verify the accuracy of your account information, you receive a PIN via snail mail, which is your regular mail, to your payment address. And when your earnings reach the address verification threshold, which is $10 USD or approximately close to that. At that point of time, once you receive the PIN, you need to enter that PIN in your account. Please remember that since we are using regular mail, it may take up to 2 to 4 weeks depending on your local post timings. And you can request up to 3 more PINs. Moving forward, let's go into payment setting. So once there is earnings accrued in your account, you will be able to check all the profits and all the other account settings that you have accrued in your account over the course of 1 month. As you can see from this slide itself, there is a dedicated section on payments which provides you with all the details. Please remember that the AdMob cycle is monthly and your earnings are finalized as shown in the payment history at the beginning of the following month. So please remember to check this particular section. Also, before you get paid, you need to meet a few thresholds, verify your address, and select a form of payment. As I mentioned earlier, we'll send you a PIN to verify your address when you reach $10 USD or approximately the same amount. Then you will be able to select your form of payment, and the form of payment availability depends on your regional country. Finally, in order to set payment methods, you must first reach $100 of revenue. So $10 and $100 are 2 key thresholds. Okay, but the big question might be that when do you get paid? So once you reach $100 in finalized earnings and you have completed the previous steps, you will get paid on around the 21st of each month. Also, a common question we hear from our publisher is, what is the difference between estimated earnings and finalized earnings? So let me clarify it for you. The estimated earnings that you see in your AdMob are estimates of your recent account activities. The estimate earnings aren't finalized until the end of the month and won't necessarily reflect the amount you'll ultimately be paid. Finalized earnings are accurate earnings amounts that include all revenue you will be paid for validated clicks and impressions. These amounts are equal to the current balance found in the payment page. So all in all, to put it in a nutshell, finalized earnings are the actual earnings that you earn. Estimated earnings are just an estimate to showcase to you that how much is the earning that you might get each month. Moving on. Now, before we jump into the program policies, we just wanted to give you an outlook of how the entire ecosystem works. So, for AdMob ecosystem, there are three key main pillars. The first is the user, the second is the advertiser, and the third is the publisher. And in order to be fair and to ensure that everyone is in a safe ecosystem, we keep on enforcing policies to ensure that we keep a healthy and a safe digital advertising ecosystem. With that in mind, I would like to deep dive into invalid traffic policy. So, invalid traffic includes any clicks or impressions that may artificially inflate an advertiser's cost or a publisher's earning. Invalid traffic essentially covers fraudulent traffic as well as accidental clicks. We understand that a third party may generate invalid traffic on your ads without your knowledge or permission. However, at the end of the day, it is the publisher's responsibility to ensure that the traffic on your ads is valid. You are responsible for ensuring that your ad implementation complies with our AdMob program policies and that you haven't paid for traffic from unreliable sources. Moving on to the types of invalid traffic, there are four basic types of invalid traffic. The first is clicks or impressions, which is generated by publishers clicking on their own live ads. The second is repeated ad clicks or impressions generated by one or more users. The third is publishers encouraging clicks on their ads by placing the ads very close to the content. And the fourth is automated clicking tools or traffic sources such as bots or other deceptive softwares. Moving on to some of the policy recommendations that we sort of provide in order to ensure that you stay away from invalid traffic. A general rule of thumb is always put user first by making sure that your ads don't draw unnatural attention, mislead users, or encourage clicks in any form that may cause invalid clicks. So whenever you place your ads, see from a third person's perspective that how your ad placement is done and whether it is drawing any unnatural attention or not. Also, please don't click on any of your ads. If publishers end up clicking on their own ads, it means that they are inflating impressions or clicks artificially. Avoid doing this. We would deep dive into some of the other methods on how you can test ads. The third thing that I would encourage you is to understand your ad traffic and app users. Break down your traffic reports into meaningful segments using app filters such as app name, ad unit, the country. And once you start breaking down these traffic and seeing the trend over a period of time, you would be able to understand that how traffic is moving in your app. Finally, avoid partnering with untrusted low quality parties. Some publishers have had issue with invalid activity when partnering with low quality ad network or app promotion sites in order to increase traffic to their app. Moving on, what are the implications of invalid traffic for your account? There are certain big implications of invalid traffic. The first one is account disabling. If we determine that AdMob account poses a serious risk on our advertisers, we may disable the account to protect our advertisers' interest. Publishers might be excluded from monetization for a fixed period of time. There may be limited or disabled ad serving, which might keep on happening on your account. Or at the end of the day, your earnings might get impacted because, as I mentioned earlier, there is an estimated earnings and finalized earnings. Please keep these four things into account and ensure that you ensure that there is no invalid traffic which is coming onto your account in order to avoid all these implications. Now, we already talked about testing your ads. So how do you test your ads? In order to avoid invalid traffic, publishers may not click on their production ads, even for testing purpose. Clicking on production ads can result in policy violation for invalid traffic. The Google provided demo ad units are not associated with your AdMob account. So you can always use them with no risk of your account generating invalid traffic when using these ad units. When you enable a test device, the AdMob network sends production ads in test mode to your device using the ad unit IDs you have created in your AdMob account. This allows you to safely test production ads and verify your implementation code without violating AdMob invalid traffic policy. The next point that we would want to touch upon is using Firebase. Now, Firebase is a Google Analytics tool which is linked to your AdMob account, or which you can link to your AdMob account. And it is a very strong tool. It allows you to understand your ad traffic and app users in much more granular details. Once you start using Firebase, you can create different ad units for each of your site. You can understand the trends of traffic which is coming on your sites, and you can understand the traffic which is coming on all these ad units or all the other metrics. Once you start identifying the trends by using Firebase, you would be able to understand that what is the kind of traffic which is good versus what is the kind of traffic which you want to avoid. And once you have that understanding, you would be very easily able to keep your account clean. You can also find information about your account, including publisher ID, AdSense customer ID, AdMob account ID, Google Ads customer ID by reviewing and updating your account settings. So at any point of time, if you want to make any changes into your account, then you can go into the account settings and change your name, email, phone number, language, Google Ads customer ID, the time zone, or even the currency in which you are getting paid. We try to make all these changes to ensure that your user journey is smooth with us and you keep monetizing with AdMob. Moving on. Now, I would like to pass it on back to Leo to take you further through some of the AdMob social channels that we have. Please remember to ask questions if you have it.
Cool, Sahil, thanks so much. So before moving on to the live question and answer part, let me just do a little bit of advertising here. So, I must say that you should remember to subscribe to our social media channels, such as YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn. Why should you do it? First of all, to receive regular updates on AdMob best practices, new products, and industry events. It is a great way to hear top developer success stories and experiences. And finally, it's a good chance to learn how to stay policy compliant. All right, great. Now, time for live questions. So as you can see the posted live questions on the homepage where I think you all are. And I see we have actually only two questions today from our audience. And let me share both of them. I think I can address one, Sahil, and then the next one I'll leave it to you. If you want, I can also address it. So I can show the first one regarding open bidding. So for open bidding, so the question is, for open bidding, I have to have multiple ad serving in my app, right? So that's correct. You need to utilize different ad networks in order to to leverage on this feature, right? And of course, you need to use mediation. That is a feature that you can totally that AdMob can help you with that. The second question was like, if I'm only using AdMob, then I cannot use open bidding. Yes, that's correct. So I hope I addressed this correctly. The other question from the same publisher in this room is, I'm using legacy AdMob interstitial SDK. Will it have any effect on my eCPM? Sahil, you want to take this on, or I'm also happy to address
it? You can address this one.
Okay, cool. We generally and always recommend to update your SDKs. I think this is a general rule of thumb, a general recommendation. When I talk to my partners, we just need to make sure to have the latest SDK updated. Especially when it comes with the latest updates with iOS 14. However, I would say that these, if you're using a legacy AdMob interstitial SDK, it won't affect your eCPM. There are different ways that can impact the legacy SDK, but if from a revenue perspective, that won't be affected. But anyway, as mentioned, it's a really good practice to implement them all. To update all type of SDKs. Great. Let me check. Okay, there are a few questions as well that I can copy and paste here. These were very last minute, so let me do so. But anyway, one, I believe this is for Sahil. Let me share this here. This is, I think, also a common question that Sahil, you might get sometimes from the partners. My user metrics is showing all zeros. I'm sorry for that. How to fix it? It has been like this for the past several months. So I think, Sahil, here you can just give general recommendations. I think it depends from case to case, but maybe, Sahil, you want to share what a publisher can check in their accounts to make sure that which are the causes for this.
Yeah. So thank you for asking this particular question. As Leo mentioned, it might differ from case to case, but some of the things that you can take into consideration is that please check the implementation of ad units in your app, because that might be one of the key reasons why all the user metrics are showing 0. If the implementation is correct, then please check the app ads.txt implementation, because if that is not correct, then again, there would be no user metrics which would be showing. If that is also correct, then if you have linked your app to Firebase, please check that particular linkage to ensure that everything is working well over there. If after doing all this, you feel that your app is still showing or everything is 0 and there is nothing else that you can sort of do, then please reach out to our support team via the help center. We would get back to you within 48 hours and technically check everything from our end to ensure that everything is working well from our end. But putting it in a nutshell, please check your ad implementation, please check your app ads.txt implementation, and check your Firebase link.
Cool. Thanks, Sahil. Very nice answer. Now, there is a very long answer. Thanks so much for spending time. I'm referring to Jin Liao that 5 minutes ago posted a very long question. And I tried to summarize it and put here in the screen, but I'll try to get to the juice of the question. And I think this is quite common. It also had, we had a similar question also in the previous webinar. And Sahil, I think this is for you as well. So basically, there is an account that has been affected by ad serving limits. So the question here would be, wait, I have a limit and question. A limit in words that I can post, but okay, I'll keep it very simple here, the question, but I'll try to summarize it. Here it's a question. So this publisher is basically saying that, they've been ad serve limited and they're trying to really understand what's going on. They're trying different solutions. And also, they would like to use open bidding, but they find it difficult to move on, because if the account keeps getting limited, that is not ideal. So the question is, what can be done to get us out of this difficult situation of being ad serve limited? So, Sahil, I'll hand it over to you.
Sure. Thank you. So let me try to make you understand how ad limit works. So if there is any traffic or invalid traffic problems associated with your account, then ad limit would come into picture. Ad limit typically stays for 30 days, and around that period of time, it goes out. However, in many cases, it might go beyond 30 days. Now, the cases in which it is going beyond 30 days means that the root cause of the problem has not been resolved and the traffic or the accidental clicks are still happening. In this particular case, what we typically tell the publishers is to take a moment to see how the ad units are interacting with the users. Check in your app that are the ad units, are the ads loading before the content, are the ads placed too close to the content, or so on, just to ensure that everything is working well at that particular end. If that is working well, then please use Firebase or other analytics tools that we had mentioned in the slide to just check that how your traffic is coming. Is there any country from which traffic started coming in? And as soon as traffic starts coming in from that particular country, ad limit sort of kicks in, then it is a clear indication of where the traffic is going wrong. So till the time you do not resolve that root cause of the problem, ad limit would not go out, or even if it goes out, it would again come back after a few days. So just check everything both from ad unit implementation perspective and by using analytics, the traffic perspective, to ensure that you are checking everything at your end and ensuring that there's no traffic which is not correct coming to your app.
Great, Sahil. Thanks so much. I think many publishers really like we asked to be patient to let the system understand what's going on, and then we definitely have a lot of cases where after the period, the controlling period, publishers get lifted of ad serving limits and everything starts back again. So yeah, I think, Sahil, we address all questions from the audience. I just check if there were any last minute questions. It seems we addressed them all. I hope it's clear. And yeah, I just wanted to thank again everybody for being here with us. Sahil, thanks so much for being our guest this month. And having said that, I wish everybody a good evening, a good day, whatever the time zone is you are. And that's it. Have a lovely day. And I hope you find this content useful. As FYI, you can always access it. The video is on demand as well. And so this is recorded. You can go through the topic, the content that we shared. And I'll send you an email so you have the link there as well.
Thank you, Leo. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much. Have a lovely day, everybody. Thank you. Bye.